speaker is from the funder, the European Union, the EDCTP. She is the Shingai, she's from Netherlands, and she is the manager of for PREGART project. So she's going to show us how EDCTP work, how is the finance flow, and how is the African University or Ethiopian University contribution in the EDCTP project. So let's welcome Shingai.
Member states and part of the EDCTP General Assembly, and they govern the activities of EDCTP. So when we talk about EDCTP activities, they are defined in three broad categories. The first category is the research and innovation. So clinical trials such as the PREGART clinical trial fall under this category. These are large multi-center randomized control clinical trials that are testing new interventions for poverty-related diseases. The second category are called coordination and support actions, and these aim to improve research capacity, including infrastructural development. I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the CSA projects that we fund. Then the third category are called the training and mobility actions, and under this category, the fellowships are included, and the fellowships aim to train African-based researchers to develop into African research leaders, and I'll also tell you a little bit more about these fellowship schemes that are available for young African researchers. So in terms of what EDCTP funds, EDCTP does not fund preclinical research. We fund clinical research, phase 1 to 4, and for those that were familiar with EDCTP 1, we had a main focus on phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials. But since EDCTP 2 was established, we have expanded our scope to include phase 4 clinical trials as well as implementation research and the translation of research into policy and practice. Because of course there is no use in having an intervention if there is no system that can take it up and ensure that the people receive the intervention in a timely manner. So when we talk about the EDCTP clinical portfolio, as you can see from the slide, this is data up to March 2019. The categories are tuberculosis, malaria, HIV and HIV-associated infections, diarrheal diseases, lower respiratory tract infections, neglected infectious diseases, and emerging diseases including Ebola, Lassa fever, yellow fever. And in the top right corner, you can see that 68 grants had been awarded with just over 450 million euros. And PREGART falls within the HIV and HIV-associated portfolio, and about 85 million euros worth of funding has been awarded since 2014. When we look at the clinical studies conducted in sub-Saharan Africa, you can see that we do have quite a good geographical spread across sub-Saharan Africa, although you can see that there are still some countries that are grey, and these are countries that EDCTP is trying to reach. You can see that Ethiopia and Uganda are actually doing very well. There is currently 11 clinical studies that are being conducted in Ethiopia and a whopping 25 in Uganda. And you can see that Uganda and South Africa are actually the same. And this is a very big improvement on the part of Uganda. And Ethiopia is following close by, so this is great. So EDCTP doesn't just fund clinical trials. They recognize that in order to facilitate clinical trials and clinical research, there are certain aspects that also needed to be supported. And one of them was the ethics and regulatory infrastructure in Africa. So EDCTP funds, using the coordination and support actions, funds ethics grants. At the moment, they're given to the National Research Ethics Committees, and they're able to submit applications and conduct projects that help to improve the system that exists within the country to process ethics approvals and regulatory approvals. And you can see that Ethiopia has received an ethics grant from EDCTP. EDCTP project that we participated in called the Trust Project. This was funded by the EU. And this had 13 partners across the globe. And one of the major outputs that came out of Trust was the Global Code of Conduct that provides a minimum standard for conducting ethical research. And I would encourage you and all your institutions to make this available to all your research departments so that they can use this as their minimum standard. Also in EDCTP 1, it was recognized that research was happening, clinical trials were being conducted, but nobody was really sure where these clinical trials were being conducted. And of course, there are international registries where clinical trials had been registered. So this project was established in 2006, PACTA, the Pan-African Clinical Trials Registry, and it now has just under 2,000 clinical trials in Africa. And we encourage all clinical trials being conducted in Africa to be registered. This is a WHO-approved registry, and EDCTP is very proud to have funded this. And PREGART is in the process of registering on PACTA, not just at a national level in Ethiopia and Uganda, but at a global level at WHO. So I wish the PREGART team all the best, and I look forward to working with them over the next few years. Thank you.
This project, which is going to have 4 PhD and 2 postdoc, and probably Professor Eleni is going to be also an advisor for Ethiopian and Makerere University. So just saying this, I welcome to President Professor Eleni Aklillu for the PREGART overview. Please come, Professor.
I'm Eleni Aklillu. I'm based in Karolniska Institute as a senior research scientist, and I have my own research group. Today I will give you just a brief background information how the antiretroviral treatment in pregnant women has been successful in reducing transmission of HIV from mother to the child, and the evolution that has been passed through the last 2 decades, and now what PREGART is adding on top of all this. It has shaped, all this journey has shaped the treatment guideline for pregnant women for prevention of mother-to-child transmission. Starts with AZT clinical led by the US group, by CDC, and the Thai research, and also by Cote d'Ivoire research, which also you see that reduction in transmission goes down from 67 to 50, another trial to 37. The Petra study also reduced it from 50 to 38%, and the Uganda study in 1994, which added nevirapine in addition to AZT. The Petra study, it added also the 3TC. And then again, if you go up during the early 20s, the Thailand study, now it's 4% transmission rate. The Cote d'Ivoire study, and the DTRAM, and the Thailand study. So all these clinical trials has contributed for the current success really, and it continues to do so. In Ethiopia, Ethiopia has participated in the postpartum infant nevirapine study, which was called SWAN, where Ethiopia, India, and Uganda has participated. That time, single dose nevirapine versus 6 weeks of repeated nevirapine dose. If it reduces postpartum MTCT from 5.3 to 2.5. As I said, this is the first study for pregnant women in Ethiopia. And the struggle continues. And in 2000, there are a lot of studies have been conducted and informing the policymakers and the WHO to revise the treatment guideline every time. So in 2006, during this time, efavirenz was not tested. Efavirenz was a new antiretroviral drug introduced in early 20s. And it was considered as teratogenic, not to be given for pregnant women because of adverse event for the fetus. But otherwise, efavirenz is a potent antiretroviral drug, which is very successful in reducing mortality and limiting progression of the disease. But it was recommended for adult, and during the 2006 version, they said efavirenz is not recommended for ART eligible women with childbearing potential unless effective contraception is used. So it was a fear. Everyone was avoiding not to do any research in pregnant women. But these are the ones who are really vulnerable and need optimal antiretroviral treatment therapy. And even those who were women receiving efavirenz-based ART regimen who desire to become pregnant should be switched off to the therapy, which is a less potent and more unsafe drug. But some researchers have continued, and imagine it was in 2005 efavirenz was introduced. All this during time, efavirenz was not recommended for pregnant women. And through time it evolved, was the eligibility of pregnant women for ART, and also the ART regimen itself has evolved through time. During the early 2001, 4 weeks of AZT, CTC, or single dose of nevirapine, based on the early studies that even ART was not recommended. But this is just to prevent mother-to-child transmission. In 2004, AZT from 28 weeks to single dose nevirapine for those who are CD4 less than 200 count. And then 2006, again, it was revised. The eligibility is the same, but 28 weeks of single dose nevirapine and then AZT-3TC for 7 days. In 2010, again, option A came, and that is AZT plus infant nevirapine treatment, or option B is triple antiviral therapy. Again, the eligibility is only those who are CD4 count less than 350. In 2013, it became option B or B plus, ART for all, and for those women regardless of CD4. Now, you see how much research has contributed in revising and advising policymakers to generate most effective treatment for prevention of mother-to-child transmission. In 2015, there is no option. All HIV-infected women, regardless of the CD4 or clinical condition and or WHO stage, has to be put on lifelong antiretroviral treatment. Here comes now efavirenz. Researchers have shown that this study done in animal and in small study population that were saying that probably efavirenz is teratogenic. Now it has been shown to be safe. Efavirenz has been very successful now in pregnant women for prevention of mother-to-child and also for treatment of HIV. Now the previously feared efavirenz now is now the first-line antiretroviral therapy for pregnant women. 3 treatment regimen. And because of the fear of the safety, we are enrolling patients after the first trimester. During this, that means from the second trimester of pregnancy, we are enrolling them. And we are looking for biologic separation at delivery, and also prevention of mother-to-child. We are following the child up to 1.5 years to see the success of in preventing mother-to-child transmission between these 3 arms. We are comparing whether having DTG is non-inferior with the current standard dose. Again, biological separation and PMTCT. And again, comparing the low-dose efavirenz with the high-dose efavirenz in terms of biologic separation and also PMTCT. And what makes unique PREGART is now we have 3 alternatives, and even comparing all of them, triangular. Now we are testing whether even DTG and low-dose efavirenz are equivalent, and which one is better. Our study sites, country are Ethiopia and Uganda. And in Ethiopia we have 10 referral hospitals selected to be as a study site. In Uganda we have 3 sites. The 3 sites is a big research, joint clinical research site in Kampala, where there are a lot of HIV patients are referred, and the TASO also is another organization that's giving care for HIV. Because in Ethiopia we don't have such kind of research centers, we have to spread our study sites to get the sample size, the required sample size. So our primary point is biologic separation at delivery and also PMTCT. And our secondary endpoint is type, frequency, and adverse event between the 3 arms. In all our my research capacity or project, I always incorporate research capacity building. When the project has been ended, a young generation has to continue. And again, with PREGART, we would like to contribute in developing and in training a PhD student both in long term and short term. Through PREGART, 6 PhD students will be trained, and 2 postdocs will be trained. Again, short-term training will be given. The capacity in Ethiopia is very minimal, especially in pregnant women. And we are laying the ground. We are passing through a long way to make this happen, so that for the next coming clinical trials, it will be much easier to follow the footsteps. The impact is that we aim for reduction, we contribute for reduction of the burden of HIV on the health system, particularly improving HIV treatment for pregnant women and breastfeeding women, and improved PMTCD, and academic and scientific impact in training the young researchers, and clinical trial capacity, particularly for Africa, for Ethiopia. And we aim to do the safe and effective outreach unit for HIV-infected women in resource-limited constraints. So together with all other researchers, we aim with safe and effective CART combination of antibiotics. We will ensure better health for women and ensure zero transmission from infected mother to the newly born baby. And I would like finally to acknowledge EDCTP, who has been a continuous funder for all our research projects for the last 10 years. And currently we are having also another pharmacovigilance capacity project is for PREGART, where 4 countries from East Africa are participating under my leadership, from Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. And how we are highly grateful for EDCTP. The contribution of EDCTP has been immense. Clinical trial in Africa has been like a fear. The name clinical trial is like a stop, don't come here. But now through EDCTP, things have been changed. The study in Africa has contributed in shaping our treatment guideline for our own people. And I would like to thank European Union and EDCTP for this. Thank you very much.
Great, so thank you, Professor Eleni, for an overview of the PREGART project.
We want to reflect like the real prevalence in our country, because we would really want to see, we are seeing some even differences in some regions, but we don't want to put it on out in numbers, but still undergoing research are there. Maybe from the inputs from the federal Ministry of Health, of course, the challenge that we are still seeing is women who are on all reproductive age women would be advised to use folic acid, and we are also advocating at the Ethiopian Society of OBGYNs to start like fortifying everything with folic acid too. So I'm sure there is a lot that the ministry would also tell us if they have any other things. The other challenge we have is the folic acid supplement that we are having in our hand is just the prenatal or the iron folate supplement that's out there. So we don't have like the folic acid that we are routinely giving to everyone, even for those who are not requiring a therapeutic dose. There's a therapeutic dose now we are having. But we still say that there is high folate deficiency in our community, which we still encourage all reproductive age women to use folic acid. But the doses that we have for a supplement, that is also a challenge that all OBGYNs and ESOG as a community, as a professional society is really trying to check is how we can really bring, like rather than the iron folate that we have, just a separate folate. If we have a separate folate that we can really supplement, because the dose we have out there is a therapeutic dose. So this might be something. Is there anything you want to add? The same thing. So we will let you know, but Professor, we still have it as a challenge. We still have it on our mind, but we still advise all pregnant women, all women who came to us for preconception care, which is very rare in our country, to start folic acid supplementation before getting pregnant and to continue for the first 3 months. So maybe this might be something that it could be taken by all providers and all stakeholders into the next picture. So, saying this, if you don't have any other question or comments, I really want to say thank you for all who have participated on this, and I'll give the floor to Dr. Abe for the project. You can give a hand for all the participants.
Thank you, Dr. Mekdes, and your presenters. You are free to go to your presentation. Thank you so much. So the last part, please, Dr. Iman, come and have a closing remark. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Abel. I'm not here to give the closing remark, but to congratulate Hawassa University for really bringing such a very wonderful project to Ethiopia. Your Excellency, Dr. Engineer Isa, invited guests, researchers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank Hawassa University for inviting me to such a very, really interesting, very critical, crucial project, which is really, or which focuses on the prevention of HIV transmission from mother to child. This is what makes the project very unique. And the other point which makes this project unique is the it is a collaborative project. If projects are done in collaboration, they bring lots of advantage to the country, to institutions. Therefore, collaborative research collaborative projects are projects which are highly recommended in our higher education institutions. Therefore, this collaborative project is really a very interesting kind of thing which we have to promote and encourage. The other important thing which makes it unique is it is the first trial clinical project which is conducted in Ethiopia. So congratulations again, Hawassa University, for bringing such unique project to Ethiopia. And the other thing which makes it unique is it is conducted by the world-class universities or institutions. That means the result of this project will be fantastic, I guess, because it is conducted by the world-class higher education institutions with the collaborative effort of different organizations like the Ministry of Health, like the health bureaus, like the university, the foreign universities, as you said, and other supporting agents. The other thing which makes it unique is, again, it is multidisciplinary in nature. This is, again, the project which is recommended in our higher education institutions. We usually recommend multidisciplinary researches where different researchers from different backgrounds engage in the projects. Because such projects usually encourage the capacity building for people having different backgrounds. And again, the result of such projects will be very good. Because of this, it is unique, I can say. And from these other higher education institutions of Ethiopia also learn a lot. It would be a kind of best practice for our higher learning institutions. So we can disseminate the practice, we can share the practice to other universities too. And here in the project PREGART came to Ethiopia with a strong design, as I mentioned it before. And again, it came to Ethiopia with the capacity building component, where I identified 6 PhD candidates and other 2 postdoctoral programs will be there in it. This is really a kind of value addition to Ethiopian education institutions. Congratulations, thank you very much. The other important thing is the fellowship thing, actually which Dr. Abel mentioned is not properly utilized. We will make use of it. Definitely we will work together and we will make use of it. So if we are able to plan and make use of these opportunities, I hope we will benefit from this project too. And it is also mentioned that there are various challenges in the implementation of this project. Nevertheless, challenges never stop us from implementing it, attaining our objective. I believe that challenges teach us on how to approach things. And challenges are, if we make them as opportunities, we will learn from them, we will get on how we can manage our projects and for effective implementation. In this case, Ethiopia is working on differentiated universities. I don't know where Hawassa University will fall. We will be having 3 categories of universities. We will be having research universities, comprehensive universities, and applied science universities. So these research universities will work on these kind of big projects, high-tech researches and studies, and they contribute a lot to Ethiopian growth. That is our belief and our plan. Therefore, we have done the study. The study is already completed, but and ready for discussion. Therefore, we will see how we can work together there. And congratulating again Hawassa University, Makerere University, and other universities and researchers who engage in this. I really thankful. And the Ministry of Science, I confirm that the Ministry of Science is ready to support everywhere and every time. Thank you so much.